The morning light sliced through the high-security laboratory's panoramic windows, casting prismatic reflections across a landscape of impossibly complex machinery. Skylar Thompson stood at the epicenter of this technological marvel, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces that seemed to breathe with quantum potential. Outside, the Xyloxian diplomatic vessel descended through Earth's atmosphere, its sleek obsidian hull cutting a dramatic silhouette against the cloudless sky. The ship's design spoke of millennia of advanced engineering, smooth curves that defied traditional aerodynamics, powered by propulsion systems that humanity was only beginning to comprehend. At Mission Control, veteran space diplomacy coordinator Marcus Rodriguez watched the incoming vessel with a mixture of anticipation and cynicism. He'd supervised dozens of first contact scenarios, each more bizarre than the last. Humanity's unexpected emergence on the galactic stage had turned diplomatic protocols into something resembling a cosmic comedy of errors. Incoming vessel is maintaining standard first contact approach vector, announced a young technician, her fingers flying across a complex communication panel. They're broadcasting standard universal greeting protocols. Marcus nodded, his weathered hands clasped behind his back. The Xyloxians were known for their meticulously planned diplomatic encounters, a species that valued precision above all else. Their entire civilization was built on predictability, mathematical certainty, and a hierarchical structure that left little room for spontaneity. Little did they know they were about to meet Skylar Thompson. In her laboratory, which occupied an entire floor of the Global Culinary Research Institute, Skylar remained oblivious to the approaching diplomatic sensation. Her current project demanded absolute concentration, a quantum-entangled flavor extraction process that could revolutionize everything humanity understood about taste, chemistry, and sensory perception. Holographic displays surrounded her, each showing intricate molecular structures that twisted and transformed like living mathematical equations. Specialized nanobots moved microscopic sugar crystals with surgical precision, manipulating matter at a scale that would have been considered impossible mere decades ago. The laboratory itself was a testament to human innovation. Walls composed of smart materials that could reconfigure themselves, temperature-controlled zones that could simulate environments from Arctic tundras to tropical rainforests, and equipment that looked more like art installations than scientific instruments. Every surface hummed with carefully contained potential that could be unleashed with a single command from Skylar. Her current project was deceptively simple in description, but monumentally complex in execution. She was attempting to create a confectionery that could exist in multiple flavor states simultaneously, a quantum culinary experiment that challenged fundamental principles of observation and perception. Quantum superposition isn't just a physics concept, she muttered to herself, adjusting a molecular stabilization field. It's a culinary opportunity. The communication systems in her laboratory suddenly crackled to life. A diplomatic channel, heavily encrypted and using protocols developed through years of careful interstellar negotiation, requested entry. Skylar didn't even look up. "One moment," she responded, her voice calm and utterly disinterested. "I'm in the middle of a critical extraction sequence." In the observation room adjacent to her lab, a team of government specialists watched with a mixture of admiration and nervous anticipation. They knew Skylar Thompson was brilliant, perhaps too brilliant to be trusted with first contact protocols. Her previous research had already appended multiple scientific disciplines, and her approach to diplomacy was less official representative, and more do not interrupt my work. The Xyloxian diplomatic vessel completed its landing sequence with mathematical perfection. Its hull settled onto the specially prepared landing platform with a precision that would have impressed even the most demanding human engineers. Krellax, lead diplomat of the Xyloxian Collaborative Exploration Fleet, straightened his ceremonial communication harness. Decades of training had prepared him for every possible first contact scenario. He had negotiated with silicon-based life forms, communicated through complex pheromone exchanges with methane-breathing civilizations, and mediated conflicts that spanned entire star systems. Nothing in his extensive training could have prepared him for Skylar Thompson. As the diplomatic team approached the laboratory's entrance, the smart glass doors adjusted their molecular structure, creating a perfect environmental seal while simultaneously providing a crystal-clear view of the laboratory's interior. And there she was, humanity's unexpected ambassador, completely absorbed in her work, seemingly unaware that first contact was happening mere meters away. The Xyloxian diplomatic team entered the laboratory with practiced precision, their movements synchronized like a complex mathematical algorithm. Each member wore a bioadaptive communication suit that shimmered with intricate patterns, living technology that processed and translated communication on molecular levels. Krellax, their lead diplomat, took exactly 7 steps forward, a number considered mathematically perfect in Xyloxian culture. His multifaceted eyes scanned the laboratory, processing information through sensory receptors far more complex than human vision. Skylar Thompson continued her work, seemingly unaware of the alien presence. The lead Xyloxian scientist, Dr. Zornak, found this profoundly disturbing. In their culture, first contact was a meticulously choreographed ritual of mutual acknowledgement. Protocols demanded immediate recognition, formal greetings, and an elaborate exchange of cultural credentials. "Excuse me," Krellax began, his translation device rendering his complex clicking language into precise English. "We are the Xyloxian Collaborative Exploration Fleet, initiating first contact with the human species." Skylar's right hand never stopped moving across the holographic interface. A complex molecular structure twisted and reconfigured itself, sugar molecules dancing in ways that would make quantum physicists weep with joy. "Fascinating," she muttered, apparently to herself. "If I can just stabilize the quantum resonance at this specific frequency." Dr. Zornak's sensory tendrils began to vibrate, the Xyloxian equivalent of a tension headache. "Do you comprehend the historical significance of this moment?" he asked, his translator struggling to capture the nuanced layers of diplomatic importance. Skylar finally looked up. Her eyes, sharp and intelligent, swept across the alien delegation with a mixture of mild curiosity and complete disinterest. "Significance," she repeated. "I'm about to break fundamental rules of quantum mechanics through chocolate. The universe is my laboratory, and sugar is my primary research medium." The Xyloxian team exchanged a series of rapid blinks, their version of a confused glance. Their entire civilization was built on strict hierarchical structures, where every interaction followed precise mathematical protocols. This human seemed to operate on an entirely different wavelength. Marcus Rodriguez, watching from the observation room, allowed himself a small smile. He'd seen this scenario play out before, alien delegations encountering humanity's unique brand of scientific chaos. Dr. Zornak stepped forward, his communication suit adjusting its chromatic patterns to display what he hoped was a non-threatening posture. "We have studied human culinary practices extensively. Your nutritional approach seems inefficient." Skylar raised an eyebrow. With a gesture, she brought up a holographic display showing molecular structures more complex than most alien civilizations' entire technological archives. "Inefficient?" she asked. "Watch this." The hologram transformed. Molecular bonds twisted and reconfigured, showing how a single sugar molecule could be manipulated to carry complex informational payloads. What looked like a simple confectionery process was actually a sophisticated form of molecular engineering. The Xyloxian scientists leaned forward, their multi-lens eyes expanding and contracting as they processed the information. What they were seeing challenged everything they understood about nutrition, chemistry, and information transfer. Krellax recognized the moment of potential diplomatic incident. His species had encountered numerous civilizations, but none had so casually dismantled their scientific understanding. "Perhaps," he interjected smoothly, "we could discuss your research more formally. Our nutritional science has developed over 10,000 generations of careful study." Skylar's smile was sharp enough to cut quantum particles. "Nutrition," she said, "is more than efficient calorie transfer. It's communication. It's art. It's a bridge between consciousness." Dr. Zornak's communication suit flickered, a sign of profound cognitive dissonance. Humans were supposed to be a relatively young species, barely understanding faster-than-light travel. Yet here was a researcher treating molecular gastronomy like a playful intellectual exercise. The laboratory itself seemed to pulse with potential. Smart surfaces reconfigured themselves, holographic displays danced with impossible mathematical sequences, and at the center of it all was Skylar Thompson, completely unimpressed by the most significant diplomatic encounter in human history. "Would you like to see something truly interesting?" she asked, turning back to her work as if the alien delegation was nothing more than a mild distraction. The Xyloxian team looked at each other. Something told them that interesting from this human would redefine their entire understanding of science, nutrition, and possibly the universe itself. The challenge was issued with all the formal pomp of an interstellar diplomatic incident. In a specially prepared conference room designed to accommodate both human and Xyloxian physiological requirements, the diplomatic teams gathered. Climate-controlled environmental zones created microspheres of perfect atmospheric conditions, while translation devices hummed with linguistic complexity. Dr. Zornak stood precisely 2,718 meters from Skylar Thompson, a distance that held mathematical significance in Xyloxian culture. His communication suit pulsed with intricate color patterns, each shift a nuanced expression of diplomatic intent. "We challenge you," he declared, his translation device rendering his complex clicking language into crisp English, "to demonstrate the capabilities of human confectionery against our scientifically optimized nutritional systems." The room fell silent. Government observers, scientific attaches, and diplomatic personnel from multiple Earth agencies watched with a mixture of anticipation and barely contained excitement. Marcus Rodriguez, stationed in the observation room, allowed himself a small smile. He'd seen humans turn seemingly impossible scenarios into moments of unexpected triumph countless times before. Skylar Thompson looked up from a holographic display of molecular structures, her eyes sharp and calculating. "A challenge," she repeated, the word carrying more weight than a simple question. "Interesting." The Xyloxian delegation had prepared extensively. They'd brought samples of their most advanced nutritional compounds, perfectly engineered substances that could sustain life across multiple planetary environments. Each sample was a marvel of scientific precision, compact, efficient, and designed to provide maximum nutritional value with minimum resource expenditure. Their presentation began with clinical precision. Dr. Zornak outlined the specifications of their nutritional science. Each compound was the result of millennia of research, optimized down to the molecular level. They could sustain life in environments ranging from methane-rich atmospheres to extreme radiation zones. Nutritional efficiency was their highest scientific achievement. "Our nutritional compounds," Dr. Zornak explained, "can support life with 99.997% efficiency. Each molecule is precisely calculated to provide optimal sustenance." Skylar listened, her fingers absently tracing patterns on a holographic interface. The smart surfaces around her seemed to respond to her touch, molecular displays shifting and reconfiguring. "Efficiency isn't everything," she said finally. The challenge parameters were quickly established. Each side would create a nutritional compound that would be tested across multiple criteria: sustenance, adaptability, medical potential, and sensory experience. The Xyloxian team believed victory was assured. Their compounds were the product of 10,000 generations of scientific refinement. They did not understand the human approach to problem solving. While the Xyloxian scientists prepared their most advanced nutritional samples, Skylar retreated to her laboratory. Her team watched in a mixture of awe and nervous anticipation. Cameras captured her movements, each gesture precise, each decision seemingly random yet fundamentally purposeful. The laboratory itself became a canvas of scientific creativity. Nanobots moved with impossible precision, manipulating molecular structures that defied conventional understanding. Holographic displays showed complex mathematical sequences that seemed to dance and breathe. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, Skylar's lead research partner, understood what was happening. This wasn't just about creating a nutritional compound. This was about redefining the very concept of nutrition. "She's treating it like a quantum problem," Elena muttered to the observation team. "Not just a biological challenge." Hours passed. The Xyloxian delegation grew increasingly confident. Their nutritional samples were prepared, each one a testament to their scientific prowess. Perfectly engineered, mathematically precise, completely optimized. When Skylar finally emerged, she carried a small container. Inside were what appeared to be simple chocolate truffles. Glossy, perfectly formed, seemingly unremarkable. "Seriously," Marcus Rodriguez whispered to himself. Chocolate. The testing phase was about to begin. Multiple scientific teams from both human and Xyloxian researchers prepared to analyze the compounds. Sophisticated equipment stood ready to measure every possible metric: nutritional content, molecular stability, adaptive potential. No one in the room, human or alien, realized that Skylar Thompson was about to redefine their entire understanding of nutrition, science, and the very nature of sustenance itself. The testing chamber resembled a cathedral of scientific possibility, walls lined with the most advanced sensing equipment humanity and the Xyloxian civilization could produce created an environment of near-perfect analytical precision. Multiple species of test subjects, carefully selected for their diverse physiological requirements, waited in carefully monitored containment zones. Skylar's chocolate truffles sat innocuously in the center of the room. They looked deceptively simple, glossy, perfectly formed, with a subtle shimmer that might have been a trick of the light. Dr. Zornak's confidence radiated through his communication suit, which pulsed with colors suggesting supreme certainty. The Xyloxian scientific team had prepared their nutritional compounds with millennia of refined research. Each molecule was a mathematical marvel, engineered to provide perfect sustenance across multiple planetary environments. The first test began with mechanical precision. Test Subject Alpha, a genetically modified organism designed to simulate multiple physiological responses, received the Xyloxian nutritional compound. Sensors tracked every microscopic reaction. The compound performed exactly as predicted. Maximum nutrient absorption, zero waste, complete cellular optimization. Perfection by all scientific measurements. Then came Skylar's truffle. The moment the chocolate touched the test subject's cellular membrane, something extraordinary happened. Sensors went wild. The truffle didn't just provide nutrition. It began an intricate dance of molecular reconstruction. "Impossible," muttered Dr. Elena Rodriguez, leaning closer to the observation screens. The chocolate was performing cellular repair at a rate that defied known scientific principles. But it wasn't just repairing, it was improving. Damaged cellular structures weren't just restored, they were enhanced. Genetic markers showed increased resilience, improved neural connectivity, and accelerated healing potential. Dr. Zornak's communication suit flickered, a sign of profound cognitive dissonance. The testing continued across multiple subjects. Each test revealed layers of complexity that shattered the Xyloxian understanding of nutrition. Skylar's truffles weren't just food. They were adaptive, intelligent molecular systems disguised as confectionery. One truffle could diagnose cellular abnormalities, repair tissue damage, enhance cognitive function, adapt to specific physiological requirements, transmit complex informational sequences through taste receptors. A human researcher whispered to Marcus Rodriguez, "She's turned chocolate into a living technology." The Xyloxian delegation watched in mounting horror and fascination. Their entire scientific paradigm crumbled with each bite of Skylar's creations. What they considered the pinnacle of nutritional science was revealed as rudimentary and limited. Lollipops could now transmit complex mathematical algorithms. Chocolate bars could temporarily enhance cognitive functions. Candies could repair minor tissue damage while providing complete nutritional profiles. Dr. Zornak attempted to maintain diplomatic composure, but his communication suit betrayed his internal turmoil. Shifting colors revealing a mix of confusion, respect, and barely contained scientific excitement. How? He finally asked Skylar. How is this possible? Skylar's response was casual, almost dismissive. Nutrition isn't just about efficiency. It's about potential. Every molecule can be a messenger, a healer, a problem solver. The testing continued for hours, each result more extraordinary than the last. The human truffles didn't just meet nutritional requirements, they reimagined what nutrition could be. They were simultaneously food, medicine, communication device, and adaptive technology. Marcus Rodriguez watched the proceedings with a sense of pride that went beyond scientific achievement. This was humanity's unique approach to problem solving, seeing potential where others saw limitations. The Xyloxian High Council would receive reports that would fundamentally challenge their understanding of science, nutrition, and technological possibility. A simple chocolate truffle had become more than a food item. It was a diplomatic statement, a technological marvel, a glimpse into a way of thinking that transcended traditional scientific boundaries. As the final tests concluded, one thing became crystal clear. The universe had severely underestimated human creativity. Skylar Thompson looked up from her research, a subtle smile playing on her lips. Shall we discuss the next phase of testing? The room fell silent. Whatever was coming next would undoubtedly rewrite scientific understanding once again. The global scientific community convened in an emergency session that defied all traditional diplomatic protocols. Representatives from over 127 nations watched as Skylar Thompson prepared to reveal the full potential of her breakthrough. Her presentation began with what appeared to be a simple box of assorted chocolates. Communication is more than language, Skylar explained, her voice cutting through layers of diplomatic complexity. It's about connection, empathy, understanding. The chocolates were anything but simple. Each piece was a carefully engineered molecular communication system disguised as a confectionery marvel. When consumed, they created a neural bridge that transcended traditional communication barriers. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood beside her, providing scientific context. These are not just food items, she emphasized. They're empathy engines. The first demonstration left the international audience breathless. A group of test subjects from completely different cultural backgrounds, individuals who previously couldn't communicate due to linguistic and neurological differences, consumed the chocolates simultaneously. Something extraordinary happened. The participants began to understand each other at a level beyond language. Emotional states, complex memories, nuanced experiences transferred through the molecular structure of the chocolate. It wasn't translation. It was pure, unfiltered understanding. Neurological scans showed unprecedented levels of interbrain connectivity. The chocolates created temporary neural networks that allowed for complete emotional and intellectual sharing. Barriers of language, culture, and individual experience simply dissolved. Krellax and the Xyloxian diplomatic team watched in stunned silence. Marcus Rodriguez leaned close to the lead diplomatic advisor. "We're not just solving a communication problem," he whispered. "We're rewriting the fundamental rules of interaction." The global implications became immediately apparent. These chocolates could potentially resolve deep-seated international conflicts, bridge communication gaps between species, provide unprecedented levels of cross-cultural understanding, offer therapeutic solutions for neurological disorders, create temporary but profound empathetic connections. Scientific teams began to understand the true depth of Skylar's breakthrough. This wasn't just a nutritional innovation. It was a fundamental reimagining of communication itself. Dr. Zornak's communication suit flickered with colors that suggested profound cognitive recalibration. The Xyloxian understanding of diplomacy, of interaction, of fundamental communication was being completely dismantled. How? He asked Skylar, his translator rendering his complex linguistic clicks into a mixture of wonder and scientific desperation. How is this possible? Skylar's response was characteristically casual. Humans have always understood something most species miss. Connection isn't about perfect transmission of information. It's about feeling, about shared experience. The next phase of demonstration pushed boundaries even further. The research team introduced the chocolates to individuals with severe communication challenges, those with complex neurological conditions, individuals from isolated cultural groups, even preliminary tests with non-human intelligence. Each test expanded the understanding of what was possible. A patient with advanced communication disorders suddenly expressed complex emotional states they'd never been able to articulate before. Indigenous groups separated by generations of cultural isolation found immediate, profound understanding. The chocolates became a bridge across impossible divides. The Xyloxian delegation realized they were witnessing something far beyond a scientific breakthrough. This was a complete reimagining of communication itself. Diplomacy, Schuyler explained, is about more than exchanging words. It's about creating genuine understanding. The global scientific community struggled to process the implications. These chocolates weren't just a technological marvel. They were a potential solution to some of humanity's most fundamental challenges: misunderstanding, conflict, isolation. Marcus Rodriguez watched the presentation with a sense of pride that transcended scientific achievement. This was humanity's unique approach to problem-solving, finding connection where others saw only division. As the presentation concluded, one thing became crystal clear: the universe had severely underestimated human creativity. What had begun as a simple exploration of molecular gastronomy had transformed into a potential revolution in interspecies communication. Schuyler Thompson looked up, a subtle smile playing on her lips. "Shall we discuss the next phase of research?" The room fell silent. Whatever was coming next would undoubtedly continue to challenge every known scientific and diplomatic understanding. The news spread faster than light-speed communication networks could track. Within hours, the galactic communication channels erupted with transmissions about humanity's extraordinary breakthrough. Interstellar communication hubs buzzed with unprecedented activity. Species from across known space began requesting detailed information about the molecular communication technology developed by Schuyler Thompson and her team. What had begun as a simple diplomatic encounter was transforming into a potential paradigm shift for intergalactic relations. The Xyloxian High Council convened an emergency session. Holographic displays showed real-time data streams from the Human Research Facility, each molecular analysis more mind-bending than the last. Their most advanced communication specialists struggled to comprehend the full implications of the human breakthrough. "It's not just a technology," whispered Krelax to the primary council members. "It's a complete reimagining of communication itself." Research requests flooded in from multiple galactic civilizations. The Quantum Collective from the Andromeda Spiral wanted detailed molecular blueprints. The Silicon-based Confederation requested comprehensive study parameters. Even the notoriously isolationist Crystalline Network showed unprecedented interest. Dr. Elena Rodriguez managed the incoming requests with a calm that belied the revolutionary nature of their discovery. Each communication was a delicate diplomatic dance, carefully parsing out information while protecting the core research. Schuyler Thompson, surprisingly, seemed more interested in her next experimental batch of chocolates than the galactic sensation she had created. "Communication is iterative," she explained to the bewildered diplomatic team. "Each breakthrough is just a starting point." The practical applications became increasingly apparent. The molecular communication technology could potentially resolve centuries-old interstellar conflicts, provide unprecedented medical diagnostic capabilities, create temporary neural bridges between completely different species, offer therapeutic solutions for complex neurological conditions, develop new approaches to cross-species understanding. Marcus Rodriguez oversaw the diplomatic negotiations, a subtle smile playing on his lips. Humanity had once again demonstrated its unique ability to solve problems in ways no one could have anticipated. The Xyloxian delegation discovered something even more shocking. The communication chocolates weren't just a passive technology. They were adaptive, capable of reconfiguring themselves based on the specific neural patterns of different species. What worked for humans could be subtly modified to work for silicon-based life forms, gaseous entities, or even purely energy-based intelligence. How? Dr. Zornak asked repeatedly, his communication suit flickering with colors that suggested profound cognitive dissonance. Skylar's response remained consistent. Potential is everywhere. You just have to see it differently. Global security teams worked overtime to manage the diplomatic fallout. This wasn't just a scientific breakthrough. It was a potential reset of interstellar communication protocols. Existing diplomatic frameworks suddenly seemed obsolete. The first major test came from an unexpected source. The crystalline network, a species of sentient crystal-based intelligence that had remained isolated for millennia, requested a direct communication test. The research team prepared carefully. Previous attempts at communication with the crystalline network had failed spectacularly. Their method of perception and communication was so fundamentally different from organic life that traditional approaches had always resulted in catastrophic misunderstandings. Skylar approached the challenge with her characteristic blend of creativity and scientific precision. It's not about forcing understanding, she explained to her team. It's about creating a bridge. The communication chocolate developed for the crystalline network was a marvel of molecular engineering. It wasn't just a single compound, but a complex, adaptive system that could reconfigure itself to match the unique neural frequencies of crystal-based intelligence. When the first successful communication occurred, the galactic communication networks went silent in collective shock. The crystalline network didn't just communicate. They shared millennia of isolated history, complex philosophical concepts that had previously been untranslatable, entire cultural experiences that had been locked away from the rest of the universe. Marcus Rodriguez watched the transmission with a sense of pride that transcended mere scientific achievement. This was humanity's true strength, the ability to see potential where others saw only barriers. As the galactic communication channels continued to buzz with excitement, one thing became crystal clear. The universe had severely underestimated human creativity. Skylar Thompson looked up from her research, a subtle smile playing on her lips. Shall we discuss the next phase of exploration? The universe held its collective breath, waiting to see what humans would discover next. The negotiation chamber defied traditional diplomatic design. Instead of a sterile conference room, it resembled a sophisticated culinary laboratory. Holographic displays danced with molecular structures, and at the center of the room sat a simple silver tray holding an array of carefully crafted chocolates. Skylar Thompson sat across from the combined diplomatic delegation, representatives from the Xyloxian Collaborative Exploration Fleet, the Crystalline Network, and 17 other galactic civilizations. Each species had unique physiological requirements, communication challenges, and deep-seated historical mistrust. Diplomacy, Skylar began, her voice calm and measured, is about more than exchanging words. It's about creating genuine understanding. The chocolates before them were nothing like traditional confectionery. Each piece was a complex molecular communication system, carefully engineered to bridge the vast differences between species. Some were translucent, others shimmered with impossible colors, a few seemed to pulse with an internal light. Dr. Zornak, still recovering from the previous breakthroughs, leaned forward. His communication suit flickered with colors that suggested a mixture of scientific curiosity and diplomatic caution. These are more than simple food items, he stated, part question, part observation. Skylar's smile was both confirmation and challenge. They are bridges, she explained. Bridges between consciousness, between experiences, between entire civilizations. The first phase of the negotiation was a demonstration. Representatives from different species would consume the specially designed communication chocolates, allowing for a level of understanding that transcended traditional linguistic and sensory barriers. The results were immediate and profound. A silicon-based diplomat from the Quantum Collective suddenly experienced the emotional nuances of a methane-breathing life form. A crystalline intelligence felt the complex social structures of a hive-mind civilization. Centuries of misunderstandings, cultural barriers, and communication challenges simply melted away. Marcus Rodriguez watched from the observation room, understanding that this was more than a diplomatic meeting. This was a fundamental reimagining of interspecies communication. The negotiation agenda was unprecedented. Instead of traditional diplomatic protocols, the representatives began to discuss complex, multifaceted challenges that had previously seemed insurmountable. Shared scientific research across species, collaborative exploration of uncharted galactic regions, mutual defense strategies against unknown cosmic threats, cultural exchange programs, unified approaches to environmental preservation. Each discussion was facilitated by the communication chocolates, a technology that allowed for unprecedented levels of empathy and understanding. The crystalline network representative, a being of pure geometric complexity, shared insights into quantum communication that had been locked away for millennia. The methane-breathing diplomats revealed ecological management techniques that could revolutionize planetary restoration. Skylar observed the proceedings with a clinical detachment that masked her deeper understanding. This wasn't just about solving immediate diplomatic challenges. This was about creating a framework for genuine interstellar cooperation. The chocolates aren't solving problems, she explained quietly to Elena Rodriguez. They're helping species see each other as sentient beings worthy of understanding. The diplomatic session continued for what seemed like days, though time became a fluid concept when communication transcended traditional sensory limitations. Historical conflicts dissolved. Misunderstandings that had lasted centuries simply evaporated. Dr. Zornak approached Skylar during a brief recess. His communication suit displayed colors of profound respect and scientific wonder. "How?" he asked, a question that had become almost ritualistic in these encounters. "How is this possible?" Skylar's response remained consistent. "Potential is everywhere. You just have to see it differently." The final phase of the negotiation was the most crucial. The assembled species would draft a comprehensive communication and cooperation treaty, the first of its kind in galactic history. But instead of traditional diplomatic documents, the treaty would be encoded directly into a series of molecular communication chocolates. Each piece would carry layers of legal, scientific, and cultural information, a living, adaptive document that could be understood instantaneously by any participating species. As the negotiation drew to a close, one thing became abundantly clear. Humanity had done more than make first contact. They had fundamentally reimagined the possibility of interstellar communication. Skylar Thompson looked up, a subtle smile playing on her lips. "Shall we discuss the next phase of exploration?" The assembled species leaned forward, collectively holding their breath. The final treaty signing ceremony defied every known diplomatic protocol in galactic history. Instead of a formal document, a carefully constructed confectionery platter stood at the center of the Universal Assembly Hall. Representatives from 43 different galactic civilizations gathered, their physiological differences a testament to the complexity of interstellar life. Skylar Thompson approached the central platform with a box that looked deceptively simple, polished dark wood, no visible mechanisms, seemingly unremarkable. Marcus Rodriguez watched from the sidelines, a veteran of countless diplomatic encounters, yet still holding his breath. "Humanity's invitation to the Galactic Confederation," announced the Universal Translator, "will be encoded through our most fundamental method of communication, shared experience." The assembled species understood this was more than a ceremonial gesture. This was a complete reimagining of diplomatic integration. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stepped forward, explaining the intricate process. Each piece of confectionery is a living diplomatic document. It doesn't just communicate information, it creates understanding. The chocolate collection represented years of molecular research, cultural analysis, and unprecedented scientific creativity. Each piece was engineered to transmit complex legal frameworks, share historical context, provide immediate cultural understanding. adapt to the specific neurological requirements of different species, create temporary neural bridges of empathy. Dr. Zornak, representing the Xyloxian delegation, watched with a mixture of scientific fascination and cultural respect. His communication suit displayed colors that suggested profound cognitive recalibration. The first species to approach was the crystalline network, beings of pure geometric intelligence that had remained isolated for millennia. Their representative, a complex lattice of interconnected crystalline structures, moved with a precision that defied organic understanding. When the first communication chocolate touched its molecular structure, something extraordinary happened. Centuries of isolation dissolved. Millennia of accumulated knowledge flowed freely. The crystalline network didn't just join the Galactic Confederation. They became an active, engaged participant, sharing scientific insights that had been locked away for generations. Other species followed. Silicon-based intelligences, gaseous life forms, beings of pure energy, entities so different from traditional organic life that previous communication had been impossible. Each received a specially crafted piece of confectionery that spoke directly to their unique method of perception and understanding. Marcus Rodriguez understood the deeper significance. This wasn't just a diplomatic ceremony. This was humanity showing the universe a fundamental truth. Connection is possible, even between the most different of beings. Diplomacy is an art, Skylar had explained during the preparation phases, and like any art, it requires creativity, empathy, and the willingness to see beyond immediate limitations. The Universal Assembly Hall transformed. What had begun as a formal diplomatic gathering became something closer to a celebration of possibility. Species that had been historical enemies found themselves sharing complex emotional experiences. Civilizations that had existed in isolation for millennia suddenly discovered profound connections. The Galactic Confederation was no longer just a political entity. It became a living, breathing network of mutual understanding. Dr. Zornak approached Skylar, his communication suit displaying colors of deep respect. "How?" he asked, a question that had become almost ritualistic in their interactions. "How is this possible?" Skylar's response remained consistent. "Potential is everywhere. You just have to see it differently." The treaty wasn't signed with traditional documents. It was experienced, transmitted, shared through molecular communication that went beyond language, beyond traditional sensory perception. As the ceremony concluded, one thing became crystal clear. Humanity had done more than make first contact. They had fundamentally reimagined the possibility of interstellar cooperation. The Universal Translator captured Skylar's final statement perfectly. "We're not just joining a confederation. We're creating a community." Representatives from across the galaxy looked at humanity with a newfound respect. They had severely underestimated this young species, a civilization that could turn something as simple as chocolate into a revolutionary communication technology. Marcus Rodriguez watched the proceedings with a sense of pride that transcended diplomatic achievement. This was humanity's true strength, the ability to see potential where others saw only barriers. Skylar Thompson looked up, a subtle smile playing on her lips. "Shall we discuss the next phase of exploration?" The universe held its collective breath, waiting to see what humans would discover next. In the vast, cold darkness of space, humanity had proven that warmth, creativity, and the ability to create genuine connection could be the most powerful technologies of all.